left your baby, Jailyn, trapped in a pack and play without food and water for 10 days.
These were the scathing words of Judge Brendan Sheehan as he delivered the final sentence. The courtroom was silent, every eye fixed on Kristel Candelario, whose sobbing did nothing to sway the judge's cold resolve. But what could a mother have done to deserve such harsh condemnation? To understand the full extent of this tragedy, let's rewind and uncover the devastating story that led to this unforgettable moment. Before we dive deeper into this story, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell. Your support helps us share these crucial stories with you. It was June 6th, a bright and sunny morning in Cleveland. Kristel Candelario, a 31-year-old single mother, seemed to be rushing around her small apartment. Suitcases were strewn across the floor, and the sound of zippers echoed as she packed for her upcoming vacation. She was excited to escape the stresses of her life, to unwind on the pristine beaches of Puerto Rico with a male friend she had recently reconnected with. To outsiders, Kristel appeared to be a young mother trying to find a moment of happiness in her otherwise challenging life. She had been struggling with bouts of depression and anxiety, made worse by the demands of single parenthood. Her friends and family believed she deserved a break. What they didn't know was the secret Kristel was hiding. As she hastily packed her bags, Jailyn, her 16-month-old daughter, sat alone in a playpen in the corner of the living room. The toddler, who had just begun to walk, looked up with curious eyes, unaware that her mother was about to leave her behind. Kristel glanced over her shoulder at Jailyn, hesitation flickering across her face. But it was only a momentary lapse. She was determined to enjoy her vacation. Without a second thought, Kristel loaded her suitcase into the back of her car, her mind already on the white sandy beaches and turquoise waters of Puerto Rico. She had left a few bottles of milk in Jailyn's playpen, hoping it would be enough to last. In her haste, Kristel didn't realize or chose to ignore the fact that Jailyn would be completely alone, helpless, for days on end. As Kristel's car pulled away from the apartment complex, a neighbor's doorbell camera captured the sound of Jailyn's cries, faint but unmistakable. In the days that followed, those cries would become a familiar background noise to the neighbors. Yet, tragically, no one thought to check on the little girl. The cries were dismissed as nothing more than the typical fussiness of a toddler. Jailyn's cries turned to whimpers, and then, over time, to silence. The playpen, which had once been a place of safety, had become her prison. She had no way of escaping, no way of calling for help. The bottles of milk left behind were quickly drained, leaving her with nothing but the hard plastic bottom of the playpen to gnaw on. For the next 10 days, Jailyn's existence was one of sheer torment. She cried until her voice was raw, her tiny body becoming weaker with each passing hour. The heat of the Cleveland summer seeped into the apartment, making the air stifling and unbearable. Without water, without food, Jailyn's condition rapidly deteriorated. Meanwhile, hundreds of miles away, Kristel was living the high life. Social media posts showed her smiling in selfies with a male companion, enjoying cocktails on the beach and soaking up the sun. The contrast between Kristel's carefree vacation and Jailyn's horrifying reality was stark. Friends and acquaintances who saw her posts had no idea what was happening back in Cleveland. To them, she was simply a mother taking a much-needed break. But the carefree facade she projected masked a dark truth, one that would only be discovered upon her return. Kristel's vacation wasn't just a brief escape, it was a calculated decision to abandon her child. Before leaving, she had lied to her family, telling them that Jailyn was being watched by a trusted babysitter. She made sure to leave no clues that would arouse suspicion. The truth, however, was that Kristel had chosen freedom over responsibility, leaving her vulnerable child behind to fend for herself. On June 16th, exactly 10 days after she had left, Kristel returned to her apartment. As she opened the door, she was immediately hit with a foul odor, a mix of decay and filth that had permeated the small space. Panic set in as she rushed to Jailyn's playpen, only to find her daughter's lifeless body lying on a urine-soaked mattress. In a desperate attempt to cover up her neglect, Kristel quickly dressed Jailyn in a clean outfit before frantically calling 911. "Please, I need help," she cried to the dispatcher, her voice filled with apparent desperation. "My daughter is dying." But when paramedics arrived, it was clear that it was too late. Jailyn's body was emaciated, her eyes sunken, and her lips dry and cracked from days without water. Forensic pathologist Dr. Elizabeth Mooney, who later testified in court, described Jailyn's condition as one of the worst cases of neglect she had ever seen. Detectives were immediately suspicious of Kristel's story. As they examined the scene, they found evidence that Jailyn had been dead for several days before Kristel returned. The apartment was in disarray, with signs that Jailyn had desperately tried to find something to eat or drink. Her tiny fingers were raw, her fingernails caked with filth. Even if she had been desperate to find something to eat, whatever she could find. Surveillance footage obtained from Kristel's apartment complex showed her casually loading her suitcase into her car on the morning of June 6th without a second glance back at her apartment. Prosecutors would later use this footage to demonstrate the cold, calculated nature of her actions. In the days following the discovery of Jailyn's body, the police investigation revealed even more disturbing details. Kristel had a history of leaving Jailyn alone for extended periods. Just days before her Puerto Rico trip, she had left Jailyn unattended for 2 days while visiting a friend in another city. It was a pattern of behavior that showed a complete disregard for her daughter's well-being. When Kristel was brought to trial, the courtroom was packed with reporters, family members, and concerned citizens who had followed the story. The atmosphere was tense as the prosecution presented evidence of Kristel's neglect. During the sentencing, Assistant Cuyahoga County Prosecutor Anna Faraglia played the 911 call, juxtaposed with the footage of Kristel enjoying her vacation. "Animals care for their young better than you did," Faraglia said with a searing tone. "You left your daughter to die in agony while you sipped cocktails on a beach." The emotional climax of the trial came when Detective T.J. Powell took the stand. As he read his poem dedicated to Jailyn, many in the courtroom wept openly. J is for the justice that will be received today. A is for the angel wings she earned on that dreadful day. I is for the isolation that led to her pain. L is for the little life that was taken in vain. Y is for the yearning for life she never received. N is for a new eternal life she now lives. As the trial came to an end, Judge Brendan Sheehan delivered a scathing rebuke to Kristel before sentencing her to life in prison without the possibility of parole. "The bond between a mother and her child is sacred," he said. "You betrayed that bond in the most horrific way imaginable." Kristel's pleas for forgiveness fell on deaf ears. "You left your baby in a tiny prison to die," Judge Sheehan concluded, "and now you will spend the rest of your life in one. The only difference is that you will be fed." This story has shocked you as much as it did us. Please hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any future updates. Share your thoughts in the comments. Do you think justice was served, or could more have been done to prevent this tragedy? We'd love to hear your opinions.